Hello and welcome back to my channel. The day is finally here. This is my first ever long form horizontal YouTube video. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support that you guys have given me on Instagram, on Shorts, on TikTok. I truly would not ever be able to be here without you guys. As a brown girl, it has taken me years to figure out how to finally perfect my makeup routine. All the tips were not working for me because I had brown skin and I was watching all these influencers who had a paler skin tone try and do all these makeup tips, but they would just not work for me. I'm gonna share with you guys the 5 brown girl friendly makeup tips that I regret not doing earlier. Why is it important to do your makeup differently if you have brown skin? People of color and people who have deeper skin tones tend to have different skin struggles than people with paler skin tones, therefore need to use color theory in a different way that other people do. Makeup tip number 1. If you are a brown girl and struggle with a lot of hyperpigmentation or discoloration like I do, you need to color correct. Most people when they color correct will use an extremely orange color corrector like this one, but this is actually gonna make it really difficult to use concealer and cover up. Your hyperpigmentation can pull a little gray. Using an orange color corrector or a peach color corrector can kind of counteract that blue undertone. Instead of using that orange color corrector, I'm gonna be using a more peachy toned color corrector, and you guys have seen me use this in a lot of my shorts. These are the Bobbi Brown color correctors. Most important thing about color corrector is choosing the one that's right for your skin tone. This one blends into my skin the easiest, so I'm gonna be going in with the shade Dark Bisque. I got the shade wrong. It's actually Deep Bisque, and you want to just use it on the areas that you have that hyperpigmentation. For me, that's on my mouth and a lot definitely under my eyes. I'm just gonna take a smaller kind of fluffy brush and just kind of buff it into my skin. Another hack, if you don't want to invest in a peachy colored color corrector, you can mix a little bit of your concealer with your orange color corrector, and that's gonna give you the perfect custom color corrector for your skin tone. Makeup tip number 2. As a brown girl, I've literally never found a foundation that matches me perfectly. Since I discovered these LA Girl mixing pigments, it's made it so much easier to get a perfect shade match for my foundation. Just because I have a neutral undertone, I'm gonna be using it with my Haus Labs foundation. I'm in the shade 360 Warm, and as you could tell, it's extremely orange for my skin tone. Even if I go darker, it's a little bit too dark, and if I go lighter, it's a little bit too peachy. So this is the foundation for me. We're gonna use the same color theory that we had learned in makeup tip number 1 with the color correctors and apply it to this orange foundation. So the foundation's super orange, right? Always wanna start with a little bit and slowly work it in. And the reason this works super well is because blue is on the opposite side of the color wheel as to orange. Blue can neutralize the orange in this foundation and make it a little bit more neutral. Just keep adding more and more until I get to that perfect neutral shade that I am. This is without the blue mixing pigment, and this is the after. Like, look at that difference. No more Oompa Loompa ass foundations anymore after this. The reason why foundations are so orange is because brands are not adding this blue pigment into their foundations to neutralize the orange. Most people don't know this, but all foundations are made of the same pigment. They just add more of that pigment to get your shade. More pigment you add of that, the more orange and red it gets, which is why all the foundations in the medium dark to deep range are extremely orange. That's why this is definitely a lifesaver since I discovered it like a year or 2 ago. I'm so annoyed that I've been breaking out now because I recently got a Clear and Brilliant laser that caused a little bit of purging for my skin, which is why I'm having a very mild breakout. Makeup tip number 3, let's talk about concealers. If you're like me, again, a neutral brown girly, most concealers can tend to run really warm or yellow. That's simply the same reason as why the foundations run super orange. Instead of using a blue corrector to kind of cancel out the yellow undertones, I'm gonna be using a pink powder. This is the Natasha Denona concealer. I freaking love this. It's super creamy, extremely hydrating. Using the shade NP10, using this Makeup by Mario kitten paw brush to blend it out. Let's say that you are a warm tone brown girly and you actually like your concealers to be more yellow or orange, then you can go in with a yellow setting powder. I'm gonna show you the difference that a pink and a yellow setting powder can really make for your under eyes. I'm using the One Size Beauty Ultra Pink powder. I love this because it's definitely a little bit more pink than a lot of other pink powders. Helps really neutralize the yellow undertones of that concealer. It's because the cool toned pink has a little bit more blue to it, so it neutralizes the yellow undertones in that concealer. This is the before, and and this is the after. I'm gonna show you what the yellow can do. This is the same one size powder, except this is the shade Sweet Honey. This is gonna make it a little bit more yellow and also like pretty bright. If you have a warm undertone, you might prefer and love this powder instead. Using colored setting powders can prevent that flashback that we all hate. This is with the yellow powder. As you can tell, it's a little bit more warmer, a little bit bright too. And then this is the pink. I feel like the pink side looks more natural. It blends more seamlessly into my undertone. That's why I prefer a pink powder. Makeup tip number 4. Can I believe we're here already? Use a blush that's the most flattering for your undertone rather than following the viral trends. When the baby pink blush trend was going viral, I was like, immediately no. I knew it wasn't gonna work for deeper skin tones because it's not gonna match how deep my skin tone is, and it's gonna look chalky and ashy. You always wanna use a blush that's very similar to the depth of your skin tone. My 2 favorite blush shades for my neutral undertone are a purple blush and a more muted mauve shade. This type of blush is gonna be great if you feel like blushes just really disappear and like sink into your skin. Fenty Beauty's Mainly Moment blush in Lucky Lotus. Because of color theory, purple on brown skin can tend to look actually a little bit more pink instead of purple. Whenever people ask me how can they get that same baby pink blush effect, I tell them to use a purple blush. I'm gonna take this brush from Half Magic Beauty. As you could tell, I love brushes that have like kind of like a slant to this. I'm gonna load the brush evenly but with the product that I have on the back of my hand. I'm going to slowly apply it to the high points of my cheeks, and this is gonna make sure that I don't have too much product on my face and that it doesn't look too pigmented or too much. The warmer your undertone is, the more pink this purple blush is going to appear. Next one I'm gonna show you guys is from Patrick Ta. This is my favorite shade in Oh She's Different. I really like rosy toned blushes because if you have an olive undertone or even a neutral undertone, you can pull also green and gray. Kind of brings like pink and warmth to your skin at the same time. If you have a warm undertone, you should definitely try using an orange blush. This one's my favorite. It's from Nude Sticks in the shade Picante. Can you believe that we are on makeup tip number 5? This tip has to do with finding your perfect nude lip. And honestly, there's no exact way you could tell whether a nude lip is gonna work for you unless you try it on yourself, which is why I have a plethora of brown girl friendly nude lip videos you can go watch on shorts. You have a couple tips and tricks that you might be able to use to get a better match every time. This also has to do with knowing your undertone. My preference is to also go with more pinky shades of nudes because the natural shade of my lips is more on the pinkier side and they tend to be a little bit ashy. But if you have brown lips, then you could definitely go for more of a brown lip combo. You just need to have a more pigmented version of the lipstick. You can tell here, I swatched 3 different nude lipsticks, and most people I feel like would tend to go for the one that disappears into their skin tone. But this one is actually one that I'm not gonna go for. When I put it on my lips, it's literally gonna look like concealer lips. With these 2, this one's more of a warmish brown and this one's more of a like a nudie pink color. I would lean more towards like this shade, but if you have a warm undertone, you might love this sort of shade. I just really love a nude lip because I feel like it just pulls a really fun eye look together. One of my favorite pigmented nude lipsticks like ever. This one is from Lip Tinted. It's also a South Asian owned beauty brand by Deepika, who I love so much. Shade Determined. And as you can see here, it's like only a shade or 2 darker than my own lips. And this formula is really nice. If you have a cool or neutral undertone like me, this is also gonna work for a lot of olive undertones. And the brand has darker shades, I believe too. So definitely check them out. The one I love so dearly is from Dose of Colors. I literally discovered this back in 2016 during the YouTube beauty guru era. But this is a really pretty warm nudie brown shade. Love both of these because they are pigmented enough to show up on brown or pigmented lips, which I know is a huge problem that a lot of other brown girls and people of color face. That being said, if you do buy a lipstick that is too pasty for you, you could use a brown lip liner, and this is easily every brown girl's best friend. My favorite brown lip liner is this one. It's from Tower 28 in the shade Draw Me. Now this kind of looks more of like an ombre lip rather than a concealer lip, which is what we first had. That, my friends, are the 5 brown girl friendly makeup tips that I regret not knowing earlier. I hope this was really helpful, and be sure to subscribe to my channel.